Atari Lynx! Okay.
Atarian number 41 Atari Lynx.
The console, the television, the game, the controller, the player, the freshly microwaved cellar stew!
Back then I thought these are needed for playing video games because it's some kind of ritual.
Others had different views, so they built the screen, the console and the controller into one, and the peaceful ritual was thrown to on traffic. You can bring it anywhere, to outer space or to the bottom of the Mariana Trench.
This spread just lately, but the very first handheld was auto-raced by Mattel.
After that, in 1979, Microvision, the very first console with built-in LCD and cartridges, was released.
Before that, LED lights and other Swedish created graphics.
Nintendo, after the Puncons and before the highly successful Famicom, they released the Game & Watch series. The Donkey Kong game was the very first using the so-called D-pad that replaced joysticks later.
The handheld craze began with Nintendo's Game Boy, and I don't think that today's phone game market would be present without that success.
Because these consoles were made for travel and toilet breaks.
Unfortunately, I had never done that, but I know the components of toilet cleaners. The original Game Boy had a lifespan between 1989 and 2003. It had a long line of successors. They sold 180 million units, and if a game did not have any Game Boy ports, then that game did not even exist.
The Game Boy was a simple console with monochrome LCD screen without backlit, with 8MB basic and 8MB video RAM, and it had a really nice sound generator chip. My favorite chip-to-metal musician turns this tiny machine into the tool of the beast! There were a lot of revolutionary games for it, like The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening or the Wario Land Super Mario Land 3, but most of them were butchered versions of popular games with the only convenience of bringing it along.
With the success seeming market like that, it's no surprise that rivals appeared soon.
Mostly known Sega's hand-compressed Master System, the Game Gear, but the very first true competition was released from the stable of Atari. Two ex-Amiga developer R.G. Mickle and Dave Needle went epics, and they worked on the handy game handheld, and they finished it in 1987, but they had financial problems, so they needed some patron to mass produce and release the console.
Nintendo and Sega rejected it, but Atari, the company without any fresh ideas, accepted the challenge.
If you look at Atari's product list, you will see that besides the not so bad Amiga 500 competitor Atari ST, they had the 7800 in 1986, and that console was really outdated by abilities and game list,
Like a time traveler from the year before the crash.
The developers learned from the fate of the 5200, so the XEX is a computer of the 8-bit line turned into a console, but fully compatible with games and accessories of the Atari 400-800 computers. With the keyboard add-on, it became a classic computer.
Jack Tramiel may had a feeling if these guys worked on Amiga and they took part in the development of a computer 10 years ahead of its time, they must really know something.
And to be fair in abilities, the Lynx beats and drills out the Game Boy!
Now I really should get this console into my hand, but I can't see it anywhere.
Oh, I knew it!
This is, my friends, the Lynx 2, and by fact this must be lighter than Model 1, but even this one must be at least 3 kilograms. The first model had a real strange layout, mono audio output, 8 battery faster, and had no backlit.
So they made it better in every way. But what's up with the name?
Hey Steve, you should think of another great console.
Atari 10,400!
Steve, be more serious. That 7800 sounded like garbage as well.
Atari forecasted today's cat fever, the Panther Proto became the Jaguar.
That torn apart Atari's budget instead of the rivals. The Lynx 2, as mentioned, was the very first handheld with backlit LCD. It had a processor pair called Mickey and Suzy.
At Atari's they were really creative as they gave name for the components. With Jaguar's Tom and Jerry chips, it's really not needed to explain, but with Mickey and Suzy, it's a little harder to find out.
I'm pretty sure it's related to Mickey Gilly's country song Suzy Q that was really popular back then. Suzy manages graphics and calculations while Mickey handles the LCD and sound.
So Suzy killed, plugged, prepared and baked the duck. Mickey had just done the spices and posted it on Instagram as his own work.
The Lynx is really special. It does not have any real sprite graphics. Instead, it does something similar to the integrator graphics used by the last Ninja games. It usually loads, resizes and places as many bitmaps, including collision detection, as much you want, but too much of them would decrease the standard 75 frame rate it produces, so it can become slow motion.
This Suzy will do the parcel delivery on the day before Christmas Eve all alone for sure.
Mickey is a little lazier. He can do classic square waves on 4 channels, so it sounds like a little like the Master System console, but if he becomes self-aware, he can turn the tape player on so the chip is able to play recorded wave samples.
I'm pretty sure you sense that the Lynx is more like a rival for the Game Gear, or how should I say, he was already in the tavern but then Sega came in and began insulting.
So the two tough guys measured each other's muscles, and during that the Game Boy stole the whole show, and even another big cat earned more. The way too simple, horrible speaker included consoles under the Happy Meal label by Tiger Electronics were really popular and successful.
What the almighty blueberry cupcake! People have no need for quality entertainment, better gameplay and technical revolution!
Of course not. Do you remember where people played these handhelds?
Of course!
The Lynx got an adapter, but that would kill the purpose. If you want to carry it, 6 AA batteries take up to 5 hours, while the Game Boy drains only 4 of them in 15 hours. The screen is really impressive, but it was made in the early years of the technology. The colors are not too lively and it's hard to find the angle that makes it comfortable. And let's see the retail prices and think of the big deals in life. Okay, we won't need the magic potion of Getafix or the gummy berry juice. Sega and Atari both misunderstood consumers.
And really don't mind that some games lasted longer than the batteries. For the impressive, more detailed games, in 1989 most people had an NES or Sega Mega Drive at home, and most of the gaming time and the money burning went for those.
But for the trip the Game Boy was enough. It was a simple thing, but had great games, and Tetris was bundled to it. That became a big fever, and in 1996, as Pokemon was released, the handheld market was settled, but the Lynx has bitten the dust 1 year before with tears on its whiskers.
Because I don't have many games for this, I thought I'm gonna review California games and I'm gonna compare the Atari 2600 version with the Lynx version. And you might not believe it, but they are just 2 years away.
California Games was made by Epix. They made Lynx, so I have big expectations. it has the extreme wave that was too present in the late 80s, like surfing, half-piping, skating, food bagging, cycling and throwing the disc. Both games have surfing, half-pipe, food bag and BMX, just the order is changed. The 2600 version has predefined names and seems like a party game.
I always pair these joy candies for myself in the bitter ivory tower of loneliness.
Food bag! Wow, I mean, this could be a weaker C64 game. It manages the sprites so well and the background is just beautiful. You can use your foot, your head, your knee, turn around. It's really strange that you walk in the way of a crowd with the uppers, but I'm okay with that. The Lynx version looks better, but it's nearly the same. It's a little harder to control, but at least the character does not look like a French stereotype in an old-fashioned swimming suit. Half-pipe! I loved it. Nope, I didn't. This game has an extreme stupid way of control. Sometimes I've even broke myself before I begin. I realized if I press the opposite direction on the ramp, I turn around and get some points, but by time I slow down even if I press buttons on directions, and that means the end of the turn. In the Lynx version the directions won't help much, and with pressing button I kick the skateboard away, even the console is mocking me. Surfing on the 2600, it's really trippy as they try to make the grain of the ocean by mixing colors. I can save myself by pressing left and I can get points for jumping. On the Lynx it's a lot better for the eyes, but strangely it goes from right to left and you will go in circles if you are not talented enough. And it's mocking me again!
It seems not like a beginning of a beautiful friendship.
BMX, this is funny how hardly you fall on your ass in the 2600 version. The white flags give you points while the yellow ones give you time. If you could play the game separately, I would play this one only. The only thing I don't like is that there's only one terrain to play. The Lynx version is more like Excite Bike. You have to avoid obstacles, but the sprites,
And those are not real sprites.
are way too big and you can't see what's coming next. And it calls me a loser.
And I have to say, in all four cases, the Atari 2600 version was better. The graphics, the sound is better, but something's missing.
Holding the console is really comfortable. I have long fingers, so if they don't put buttons under the case, I can reach them easily. But I don't think this thing could be broken in your pocket. For self-defense or stopping bullets it's not massive enough, so because of its size I broke it while carrying it pocket.
But you know, the Game Boy survived the bombing, so who knows? This was a little detour episode because I had the chance to borrow this bastard, but next time I swear I'm gonna talk about programming because I know I just bore you with all these gaming stuff. So young Padawan, take care.